All right, so I am so excited to be here today with Ugochi Onyawu, who has worked with me for 6 months. And today we just want to talk a little bit about Ugochi's journey and what brought her here and why she was so successful. Wait to hear what she has accomplished. So Ugochi, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's a pleasure having you. I so thoroughly enjoyed coaching you. You were like a coaching client dream.
Yay!
Follow through with everything. I'm telling you, that consistency was great. But what I want to start out with was what was the picture before we started working together? Tell me a little bit about what was going on and what inspired you to even start looking for a coach.
Yeah, so obviously I'm 51, right? So probably the similar story to what a lot of your clients come to you with. Always been into exercise, and I run a few marathons, so I used to run and try to eat healthy, whatever that meant, right? And I was always slim, but I noticed over the last maybe 3 years I started to struggle a little bit with weight. It got to the point where I stopped weighing myself because I'm like, oh, I still look okay in the mirror or whatever. And then in March, I noticed my clothes were getting tighter. So I was like, okay, you need to just be brave and stand on the scale and really understand what's going on. And I laugh. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Lisa, but I stood on the scale. I couldn't believe the number I saw. So I went out and bought another scale. I'm like, there has
Oh
to
my
be
goodness.
something wrong with my scale. I actually ended up, so I bought another scale, stood on that one, and it was the same thing. And then I really panicked because
Oh.
up until this point, I'd been trying, I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to eat a little less. I'm going to eat less and I'm going to eat less. I'm going to exercise more. And nothing was happening. So it was panic. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Everything that's been working to this point isn't working anymore. Right.
Right.
So I thought, okay, what can I do? Clearly, I'm over 50. So things are different. I just can't, the traditional way of dieting and exercising just obviously isn't working. It's one thing if I hadn't tried it, but I had been trying it and it just wasn't working. So, oh my gosh, I had these visions of I'm going to keep gaining weight and one day I'm going to be like severely overweight. So I actually took to Google. That's how I found you. That's how
Okay.
desperate, quote unquote, I was. And I went to Google and I typed in over 50 nutrition and weight loss. That was coach, over 50 nutrition and weight loss coach, and your name popped up. I
Great.
don't remember, I sent you an email. I'm like, hey, my name's Ugochi, blah, 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 and all this. And I'd love to, and then that was how we started really, because I just didn't know what else to do. And I'm like, there has to be someone out there who has the expertise specifically for women my age, right? So yeah, that's how it all started.
Oh, that's great. I love everything that you said. And it's funny that they don't, it's amazing how little research is done on weight loss and women over 50. I mean, so I'm 61. I'll be 61 in another week. So I I get it. I completely get it. So not only with my own knowledge of, and courses I've taken and certifications, but just going through it myself. So I completely get it. And it always amazes me that people continue to try that eat less, exercise more over and over again. It's like the number one thing you should not do, right? Which you learned after being here with. But yeah, people keep trying it. They keep trying it, and you want something different, right? So then when we talked, I know that, so you got into the program. Obviously you signed up for the program, you got into my private coaching. And was there anything about the program that surprised you, given that it was something different than you did before?
Yes, so I will tell you, and probably I'm answering two questions in one. The first thing was I was really concerned about what it would take, right? To your point, I tried everything, eating less and less and less and exercising more and more and more, running more and more miles. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like literally be at death's door by the time Lisa's done with me. So if I'm already doing all this stuff and it's not working, she's gonna come with something so drastic. So that was my concern. But I guess my surprise was just really how easy. Well, I don't want to say easy because obviously there is a little bit of of work that goes into it, but how much easier it was than I thought it would be is really what surprised me. I was just amazed. I was like, okay, yeah, this is not easy, but it's a lot easier than what I've been trying to do, by the way,
Right.
that wasn't working. So that really surprised me. That was really surprising.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
you did so well. So let's share with everybody what your progress was. What did you accomplish during our time together?
Yeah, so the day I stood on the scale and bought another scale, I was 170.6 pounds. And I don't remember being that weight since I had my babies post-pregnancy, postpartum, right?
Okay.
And I lost between 14 to 16 pounds. I came down to 156.4 at last weigh-in. So about 14 pounds, which is amazing. I dropped 8% body fat and I lost several inches. I don't remember the specifics. You might remember. I think it was about 14 inches
Yeah.
all around.
14.
Just amazing. I mean, just amazing. And it was just following, just follow the instructions that Lisa gives you. Right? No, don't go making stuff up. Don't add stuff to it. Don't tweak it. Just follow instructions. I'm so happy with my results. So happy. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And I can remember you telling me about one time when you had run into a friend you hadn't seen for a while and her response.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
share that?
Yeah, she's like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And who are you working with? And what have you, and I obviously told her about you. And she's like, you're much slimmer than I remember ever being, blah, 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 and all this. And I think part of it also was, the muscle tone, right? Because I was so toned and she was just, couldn't believe it. She's like, you look amazing. What have you been doing? Who are you working with? And I was honest. I'm like, look, I can point you in the right direction if you want. So yeah,
Great.
sure.
That is awesome. And the other thing I was thinking of, I mean, there's obviously those accomplishments are fantastic and everybody wants to lose weight in inches, but there are also other things that you get from this journey. So do you want to share a little bit of that?
For sure. There's so many benefits that are, we talk about these non-scale victories, right? Apart from the fact, it's not just the pounds on the scale, your clothes fit better, right? Because you have more muscle tone. But beyond that, just even mentally, right? Because there's this sense of nothing is working. You start to feel a bit down and lose your confidence a bit, especially when you have that pouch around your stomach and you're like, oh gosh, is this what getting older looks like? And you feel like throwing in the towel. There's this renewed sense of confidence, right? This renewed sense of calm, and even just mentally overall, right? It affects other parts of your life. It's really amazing. And ladies, we know this, right? So you have this sense of confidence, this renewed sense of vigor, and like, oh, you know what? This is great. Actually, getting older is a blessing. You can start to see the blessings that are associated with getting older as opposed to looking on the downside. It does affect other areas of your life. You're more confident at work. You feel more like you feel happier. Your kids, yelling at your kids a lot less,
Right.
So I think mentally overall, it just has a huge boost, not just to your self-confidence, but your mental health as well. I really can't say enough about the importance of that, because especially post-COVID, we've all been through a lot these last few months. And just having that sense of mental well-being is something you really can't put a price on, So yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that when, because I think a lot of women look at midlife, maybe starting to go into midlife, they think that it's over, or it's like, okay, it's all downhill from here. And it doesn't have to be. It's I've had people that are, in the best shape of their life going into their 50s.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
Look at you, 61. I mean, like, you're a poster child for the work you do, right? So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very sweet.
It's true.
So now, how do you feel confidence-wise about being able to maintain this? Because, a lot of people, they gain weight back, right? Because they're trying to stay on that eat less, exercise more. They're trying to keep that up. And obviously that's not sustainable. So how do you feel this is sustainable?
Yeah, so this is actually, and I'm glad you asked that question. This is one of the things I loved about working with you. It wasn't just, eat less, exercise more, and then you gain it back. And then here we are on this cycle, and then it's harder and harder, right? we started to learn, it's almost like you're a detective, right? We started to learn how to identify signs, right? So I guess I say that I'm confident, right? That if, because life happens, say you go on vacation or whatever and you gain 5 pounds, you know what to do, because now it's not just about, oh, losing weight. It's about really understanding your body and the nuances that are associated with you that maybe are not associated with other people. Like Lisa, one of the things you mentioned, that I'm a little bit taller than say you, right? So what might work for me might not work for you. Like carbs, for example, the amount of carbs that I would need to consume might be a little bit more than say you. And it's just understanding that. And that's the difference between this program and the one size fits all that the dieting industry has kind of given everybody. It's not a one size fits all. It's really identifying what's different about you, what works for you, and seeing, hey, you know what? I've been trying this for a little bit, but maybe it's not working anymore. Let's tweak this. And then oh, okay. But the thing about it is it's constantly changing, right? But once you learn, it's not about, oh, eat this amount, exercise this amount, and you're done. It's about learning your body and learning that your body is really smart about holding on to weight. So it gets comfortable, but you learn the tools. So it's the tools that you have, not necessarily the program. It's the tools that you have to understand your body. Like, okay, I see I'm plateauing, or I see this, or I want to, drop a little bit of body fat, or I want to increase muscle tone, right? Because we kind of worked, it was a balance between losing weight and maintaining muscle tone, and saying, okay, I know what to do. Okay, let's tweak this. So I feel so much, and this is the first time, I will tell you, at 51, having been on this journey of being very focused on weight, this is the first time in my life that I'm like, I know what to do.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah, I know what to do, as opposed to I'm just going to run 100 miles on the treadmill and starve myself, right? Now I know what to do, where I can still nourish my body. I cannot feel deprived, but I can get the results that I know that are realistic and great for my specific body.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. I think, and I think one of the reasons that you were so successful, and you can share if you think there's some other reasons in there too, it was your commitment to yourself. And knowing that, like when I said, okay, we're going to figure out what works for you. And so many people say to me, no, just give me a meal plan. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to learn what works for you. And just knowing, like you said, becoming that detective. I love teaching people to be their own nutrition detective, to say, okay, if this is what you're doing, it's not working. We look at a few parameters, and then we know, based on history from working with you, we know that, oh, Ugochi responds this way to carbohydrates and that way to fats. We know what to do for you. So you have all those tools in your belt.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing, and maybe we'll get to it, I don't want to, jump ahead, but I think the key thing also is to understand your why, right? Mm-hmm. It's beyond just, oh, I have a wedding in a month, I need to drop 15 pounds so that I look good, or a high school reunion. That tends to be a trigger for a lot of us. Oh my gosh, I need to lose 30 pounds in 2 months, because it's beyond that, right? It's your why, long-term why. Why are you doing this? It's about your health, of course. Mm-hmm. It's about your mental well-being. It's really just sitting down. I think that was one of the reasons why I was committed to this. It's at the beginning, it's mindset, right?
Yes.
It's having that right mindset. Why are you doing this beyond just, oh, I want to fit into this size or this wedding or this event? It's your why and it's your mindset. And I think you might get to this, but it's also believing that you can. Because I think a lot of us get to the point where you're like, oh, I've gained so much weight, or I'm too old, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. There's no point, that I can't do this, right? I've tried before, it's failed. How is this going to be any different? And we give up. I think it's approaching this with the I can, right? If one thing's not working, we'll change it. We'll figure out what works, but I can do this. And I think that was the main thing. And I think before you even embark, it doesn't matter whether you have 5 pounds to lose or 50, before you even start, it's really sort of identifying why and then believing that you can. I think that's what made all the difference, really believing that I could do it and that I would do it,
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that's a big, big part of it. That why, and that why, which we hear that thrown around a lot. What's your why? What's your why? And it sort of loses its power because it's been used so much. So, but connecting to that why, and maybe going further, saying connecting to the emotional attachment to your goal. Like I know for myself, staying healthy, it is I do not want to be 80 and be dependent on either my children or having to go to a nursing home. I want to be that's my independence is really important to me, and it scares me to think I would lose that. So that keeps me going. Plus, all the other benefits that you talked about, that part, and like you mentioned, the belief. I have found that if somebody is not believing that they can get there, if you have 50 pounds to lose, you're like, I can't lose that. If someone, even if it's in your subconscious, that it will come out. Eventually it will come out. So having that built into the program, being able to work on mindset and all the tools I help people with mindset to get past that really makes a difference.
For sure. 100%. Yes, it really does. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. What we uncover.
Exactly. Especially when you go maybe 3-4 weeks and you haven't lost any more weight, right? You're like, oh, it's easy to say, I knew it, I can't do it. No, it's about like, okay, let's tweak things. What's going on? Let's, take out our detective hat or whatever it is and figure out why and tweak things, so you absolutely can do it. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And your consistency, I think, played a big role. You were very consistent throughout the whole time, which, that big C, consistency, hugely important.
Yes, yeah. And to that point, I think for me also, it was like, this is a lifelong journey, you talk about in your being in your 80s, right? It's not a 4-week thing, right? Okay, so we worked together for 6 months, but this is a lifelong journey. And I was like, okay, because again, back to the diet mind frame, it's always about 4 weeks, drop 50 pounds, or, drop 20 pounds in 10 days. And you're like, okay, for 10 days, I'm going to starve myself and I expect to lose 20 pounds. It's not about that. It's a lifelong journey, and just being committed, to your point. It's an everyday commitment to your health, to this new way of living. And so I think that helped me to be consistent, just understanding that it's for the long term. It's not just, 3 weeks, 21 pounds in 3 weeks, right? It's really just show up every day and do what works. I think that helped me to stay consistent too. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So what would you say to somebody who was in that same situation? They're, going through menopause, they're getting their 50s, nothing's working, and they're a little bit afraid to step up and work with a coach. What would you say to them?
Okay, so I could say a whole bunch of things, right? The first one is take a deep breath, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, take a deep breath. Second thing is you can do it. The third thing is, settle in. It's a lifelong journey, like I said. Don't tell yourself, oh, I have to lose this 50 pounds by this date. It's a lifelong journey. You can do it. I think is the main thing I would say. You can do it. The second thing is be patient. It will take time. It's not going to happen. You gained weight over a number of years. You're not going to drop it overnight.
Right.
But the third thing I would say is that it works. It really, really works. And if nothing else, right, even when you're like worried about whether or not you can do it, what you're going to have to give up. Oh, I'm going to have to give. Don't look at it in terms of what you're going to have to give up. Look at it in terms of what you're going to gain, right? I think that makes it so much easier and better, right? You're rewarding yourself with this journey, right? It's a gift to yourself and to your health. You can do it. Take a deep breath and just have that mindset that you can do it.
Excellent. Wonderful words of wisdom from Ugochi. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you being here and sharing all of that with us. I will put a link for anybody in the comments. If you're interested in coaching, I will put a link down there for you to, just reach out to me, send me a message. But I love sharing your story, Ugochi. Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure. I loved working with you, Lisa. I can't recommend it enough. It was great. Thank you.
Thanks.